It's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the brand new service body by Teralume Industries. We've built the service body for a couple of main reasons. Firstly, we were responding to a lot of comments, a lot of feedback from customers just like yourselves who wanted the chassis mount option. So firstly, we're going to go through a bit of terminology. We're going to run through what this sort of product suits and who could use it. Then we're going to go through a little bit more detail about the product and all things in between, like how we build it, load ratings, features, benefits, accessory fit outs, and all sorts of things in between. With the two colors and the three variations, the fit out of service body, whether it be a matte black or a commercial white like you see on the Hilux here, is applicable to both, obviously, the adventurers and the guys who are weekend warriors, and also the guys that are more avid enthusiasts that may find themselves living out of their vehicle or on the road full time. And then of course the service body in more of a commercial theme with commercial white coloring, and of course all the racking inside, which makes itself really useful for people in the trade scene, the service sector as well, as a field service vehicle. So one of the huge advantages of the service body versus a modular setup is the weight. And a lot of people ask us, they go, well, you know, it all kind of looks the same. What's the difference? So the main difference is that this canopy, or the main part of the body, is actually sitting on the frame which goes to the chassis of the vehicle. Now, what you would typically have, which is over here behind me, is a tray, and then we'd put a canopy on it. And we've been doing that for years, and it works really, really well. The only disadvantage, if you will, in a setup like that is the weight. So going to a fixed body option really makes a lot of sense for those people who have no intention of actually taking their canopy off their tray and converting back to a normal ute. So on the topic of construction and weight and all those sorts of things, it probably begs the question as to what is the difference? So for a tray and canopy, say in a 1700, what we typically have and what we fit so many of, the service body lends itself to about 100 kilos less weight than a tray and canopy in a modular setup, at a touch over 320 kilos. So you do have an advantage. And again, coming back to that logical sort of point where what's the point of having something that's modular if really there's no intention to take it off? The service body, or chassis mount if you will, lends itself to a perfect solution. I want to discuss with you the design elements, the design language. It was a very simple design brief for us when we started this project back in May 2024, so nearly 8-9 months ago now. Of course, those people who don't wish to have a modular setup, this being the most obvious option. So the design for us was really simple. It needed to look good. We had a winning design with the construction of our chassis, the way we did things underneath with internal framing, external framing, and of course our internal frame being a 50 by 50 uni-strut lended itself to so many advantages in the marketplace with the way people that got fit outs themselves done, and of course the trade scene, and of course also when we do our own fit outs, how handy the internal frame became. It was a big push to make sure that we had a product that was ahead of its time. What we decided to do was bring a fully optioned package to the market and an offering to the marketplace that didn't have add-on slew of accessories and things and all of those features that one would expect in a product in 2025. A standard. The design element for us was really important. There are thousands of these on the road now. We've been doing this a fairly long time. We've kind of understood what works and what doesn't. Now we're at the stage with a mature design. It makes sense. It's incredibly strong, and we back it with a 10-year structural guarantee. It was time to work on how it looked. So a huge consideration was the look. Now, what we found in the market, my personal opinion, being head of design, most other service bodies, in our opinion, and certainly my opinion, were bland. They didn't look exciting. We're seeing so much design come through vehicles these days with the likes of, you know, Kia Tasman, the BYD Shark, which we've got one in here, and of course all of the other Japan Thai utes and this ever-evolving American industry. I would say stunning design. We're going to do a bobtail design where we've got 3-axis rear ends, so we've got 3 axes of change throughout the rear tail. So the whole light board and everything was integrated in consideration of the design elements that are starting to come through the automotive industry. So we're very proud of this design. It's unique again to Teralume, something that we're, worked very hard on and making sure that there wasn't really anything like this on the market, but it was subtle enough where it wasn't polarizing. So there are a couple other key distinctions with the service body design, like the rear light board, the full width door design as well, and a whole slew of other things that we've introduced to sort of make a complete package visually, and of course make it super functional. I can't tell you how much paper and designs got scrapped before we got to something we really liked, but it had to hit that criteria, and I think we nailed that. So let's start talking about some of the design features and the features and benefits. What sets a Teralume service body aside from a lot of the other manufacturers out there. So firstly, we are one of very few to actually take into consideration a fuel filler. No one likes filling up. I'm certainly sure you don't. I prefer not to. But when it is time to do it and you actually are at the Bowser, having an OE fuel filler makes a huge difference. Plenty have copied us since, but having something where we redesign the entire fuel system and the filler neck is that added a little bit of a difference, so we actually take into consideration those typically overseen things. What differs from our canopies to our service bodies is this door jamb. There is no need to remove this service body, it's fixed to the vehicle, so therefore we've gone away from having those lift-off points you'd typically see in a canopy, and we've got now a full width door. That's completely edge to edge. The reason a lot of people go to these setups is the width and the height and the usability and functionality of the actual body itself, which leads me to the false floor. There is absolutely no need to build a floor up. The way we've designed our service body is to make sure that this floor is flush. So it reduces manual load, it reduces reaching in and grabbing things, and it also keeps weight down in the fact we don't need to add a false floor. And of course, all accessories don't need to have a plinth that they need to mount onto to breach the door jamb as well. Moving up to our gas strut, it's a 50 kilo gas strut. We've got height adjustment here, 5 stages. So you've got 2 down, 2 up again. And then up on the top here, just like our canopies, a winning design of leverage adjustment. So we can change that fulcrum should the door get heavier. Things get up, mounted onto the outside of the door. We insulate the door. Or of course, this now new MOLLE panel hatch becomes available to adding accessories on, or canvas products where they're holding tools or recovery kits, or even medical kits. Adds weight to the door. We can then just change the leverage so the door becomes a lot easier to lift up and of course stays up. Up here we've got a piano hinge, very similar, almost the same to the current canopy, which has been a really successful design. It lends itself fantastically to keeping moisture and rain out. So behind the piano hinge is a mechanical seal. We've got a very special vinyl that sits behind there. I can tell you when it does rain or when water does flow off the doors, it doesn't permeate through and doesn't end up coming into the canopy and just escapes down the natural gutters. Another small addition is the strip light recess. So we have thought about through customer feedback, of course, that the strip lights do get damaged if there's something inside that moves. So we've ended up recessing a little slot for that to sit in so it's protected even when you're on the road. Another signature move by us, grab handle. My wife actually had no way of grabbing the door, something we've had in for years now, but the grab handle lends itself so well, and it's quite native to grab, pull the door down to the point where it'll take itself in. Another key advantage is the whole door is gusseted. There is absolutely no way to move this door, absolutely rock solid. The strongest on the market, I personally can tell you that. So as we move forward, a new very cool addition, and I'm sure everyone will copy it, is the zone lighting. So to the beauty of the people we work with in our industry, certain vehicles can take advantage of the native OE zone lighting system, which we can adapt into. So for example, when you open your door, the mirror light on the next gen Ranger, for example, spreads a beautiful beam, and we can tie this light into that system. So the zone lighting is a really cool feature, something I thought of personally, and I'm like, man, it'd be great if we had this. And sure enough, I've added it into the system. So it's a standard item. Really cool feature to provide area lighting for, you know, late nights, early starts, and of course, just general use camping. Another thing is we've gone to a lockable door. So it's a cabinet now with a door, not a drawer. We had a lot of people copy the drawer and the way we did it. We've gone back to the cabinet for a couple of reasons. Functionality is probably a huge one. So having the opening space inside of it, being able to mount compressors, and having things, so we've got a little bit of a drop there so nothing falls out. Very specifically designed. It may look like a smaller opening, but usability is much greater. They are very well sealed. We've got an obvious seal all the way around here. Compression lock, always standard compression locks, whether it be a push or a twist and turn. Inside, we've actually got rubber washers that are steel backed on both sides. Again, signature to us, we decided that water permeating and moisture permeating in a toolbox is not acceptable, and we decided to ensure that even through the mounting holes and the way we mount the toolbox, we weren't going to get moisture permeating through. So that was a really cool thing. Again, standard on all our trays and of course the service body. Back into the compression lock, it's obviously hinged there, and we've got the nice taper that comes up here. Dual welded mud guards are a really cool advantage. Going into a dynamic taper there, coming out 50 mil. So even vehicles with neg 0 to neg even 12 to 20, we still don't need wider guards. We have got that 50 mil taper there. And these are absolutely rock solid. Good luck bending them. And into our obvious Teralume mud flap, which is a 280 drop. So it's enough for most vehicles. Never had a problem with those, and they're really, really good. They'll bend out of the way should they need to. So as we move to the rear, two-step whale tails, they're a compression lock. One unlocks the lock itself, available to turn now. Unlocks that, and up we go. Central locking is something that really should be in every canopy these days, and it's standard on our model. We get so many people ask if it's available, how it works. We spend the time going to the native OE system, tap into that so you've got that on your fob. Another option at the rear, again, as I said earlier, is you got this full gunnel. Now, irrespective of you having a fit out either side, you've got a full width access. Rubber matting is also an option. That covers the floor from obviously scratching it, but also keeps your gear in the same spot. Rubber floor is super tacky. Now underneath the rubber floor, like our canopies, is a fully framed floor. In terms of the channel frame and the ceiling, it can lend itself to all sorts of things. I mean, the trade use, there's so many options and so many ways of doing things, but what it does also lend itself to is lighting options. So in here, we've got 6 of our X1s, a tried and tested product, been out for 5-6 years now, that line the inside, and that is at the flick of the switch, literally daylight inside. So it makes it really, really easy to work out. Should we be doing night shift, or even if you're a camper and you're operating out of the back of or the side of this thing of an evening. You notice a full width door on this model. So we do, as I said, have that option of the rear solid wall, which would make it a 2-door service body, still with this little bobtail on the end. But what you'll start noticing is the offset of the lights. So the lights are slightly offset that way and that way. It's got to do with that 3-axis change on the rear. But then we come into what most people don't even know is available or included, which is a standard option, is the trundle drawer. So on the trays, and this is again going back to customer feedback, people were happy to sacrifice a smaller drawer in lieu of a water tank, and it's exactly what we did. So in the front of this is a 70-litre water tank on a pressure pump. That's standard. And of course, we've still got the trundle drawer in the same or very similar design as what we had in the tray, a little bit shorter. So 1100 instead of 1680. And then we've got this part that comes out, which extends about 700. Again, we've got a lockable compression lock here, a tape seal there. And of course, the entire cassette slides back in and recesses in about 400 mil. So as we lower this, you'll notice there's a gutter here. So any water that, should you leave this out in rain or even spill something on it, can simply be lifted off, cleaned, and it would escape down the gutter, which is a recess in the drawer to stop things actually going inside the drawer. And of course, anything else that can go in there, like recovery gear, tools, a lot of your flat cases and stuff like that, where maybe you don't need them as often or as readily available, but they're out of the way and recessed back into the drawer. For the guys in the service sector or the fleet sector, this actually lends itself to a workplace. Really, really good height, protected from the elements, and of course, on a really sturdy bearing roller system as we use. There's no telescopic arms. Everyone uses telescopic arms. For us, we use Koyo bearings. They go from the front of the cassette all the way out, and that's what this system slides on. The whole thing's made available by the number plate flap and the resistance lock. So that sends 2 pins out the side, locks the drawer in very, very tightly, and not many people know it's there. So as we go back in, it's its bumpers, we're locked, down, kick the stays up, send it down. Under here, recessed number plate lights. A very unique design, not often seen in the industry, is the full width. So we really decided, again, having that sort of cutaway there and what you typically see there, and a little door access is still useful, but we sort of thought, well, what's the point? So having a very small jamb here, which is fully structural, so we're maintaining the structural integrity of the canopy and what we're designing it for. Of course, dynamic roof load ratings and stuff like that as well. We had to make sure there was something here and it was sturdy, but having that access was paramount. We needed to make sure that people had that full width access, which is exactly what we've done. So our door comes all the way there to the jamb and recesses with a 5mm quirk all the way underneath and comes up. Of course, automotive ceiling, space for safety rear vision cameras, molly panel as well, strip light recess, handle, lock covers, central locking. And again, we've got leverage adjustment on the doors and of course height adjustment as well. So we've kind of modeled what we would typically have on the sides, on the rear, to give that adaptability and make sure that whatever's going on back here, you've got all of the same features on both the side doors as well. So another thing you'll notice is the tow bar. So we've aligned with Tag Tow Bars, really good Australian manufacturer of tow bars. These guys have released their XR tow bar, stands for Extreme Recovery. Not that some vehicles need recovering per se, but in the event of it, we've got 4.5 ton tow rating hooks on each end, and they are part of the tow bar as standard. Of course, the drop hitch as well. Generous provision for wiring and other things like Anderson plugs, 12-pin plugs, that sort of stuff as well. Most tow bars have a fairly substantial drop, even if they're straight. And then we see when we pull tubs off cars, which we do every day of the week, we've got this huge drop to allow for the rear step on most tubbed vehicles. This one is not only straight, but provisioned to be up high. So we clean the whole rear end up with the addition of one of these Tag XRs due to the fact their design's nice and straight and it's kept up out of the way. So we're super proud of that. And of course, it was a fairly big design consideration to make sure all of our service bodies fitted vehicles with XR tow bars as well. It's internal fit out time, and there are so many options, as you're aware, and there's so many individual needs. It's impossible to cater for everybody and every idea. But what the XCO system allows is a totally immersive design. So what you can do is really lean into it exactly how you want to over time. So for us, primarily a fridge is really important, and what our feedback from even our fleet and service guys are, these are kind of a paramount option. But next to it is our brand new power hub. And that's something we'll get into a little bit later in more detail, but for the most part, it's the first and only, and I've researched, I can't find one, the first and only fully integrated all-in-one power system. So that has AC charger, 50 amps, DC-DC charger, 50 amps, 40 amp, 100 volt solar reg, 3 kilowatt inverter, 300 amp hours or choice of 200, a screen, inverter on and off, 3 power outlets, 8 switches with circuit breakers, 6 chargers and 2 Anderson plugs. So this whole module can be removed in 10 minutes. Everything is plug and play. It's adaptable. You can lean into it and build upon it. You can add things to it and subsequently retract and take things out of it in terms of channels or functionality. You can charge it from shore power, obvious solar power. Everything's controlled through here. It's kind of why we call it an all-in-one unit. There's no need for anything else. So your complete power interface is there. An up to 3 kilowatt inverter allows you to run small welders, all of your 240 volt charging for all your Milwaukee, Makita or DeWalt gear, and everything else that any other person would realistically need out of a vehicle. Up the front, you've got a really cool workspace here as well. Fully flat, you can put a laptop on there, printers, all sorts of things as well, all powered off the hub. Shelving's a big thing, so we made it fully adjustable. So the idea of this is it bolts in and you can adjust up and down what shelf. You can even remove shelves depending on what you need. So it's got a deep 50mm recess in there. It's fully TIG welded. These things are super solid. Nothing's coming out of it and nothing's falling out of it. You can option this in a wide model or a less wide model, making up different variations for 1400, 1700 bodies. They are modular, so they can come in and out as you please, and you can lean into that fit out over time as well. So this sort of side's where we call our off-side or our passenger side. If you're a fleet service manager, or if you're on the road as a service vehicle, or you're just an avid adventurer living out of your vehicle on the road, this is always the side we prioritize to fit out. Obviously our power system, fridge and stuff like that lives on this side as well. So as we move on to the other side, very similar to the passenger side, but one key difference is this is where our water tap's located. So recessed back in here, again, based off customer feedback and other points of view that most people wanted that tap recessed in from what we typically had on the trays, and we've listened. Turn to activate, and of course a switch that activates the pressure pump, which is located up underneath. Now the front part of the body actually includes that tank up underneath. Doesn't interfere with the way we fit things, or it doesn't interfere with what your vehicle's currently got on it either. A lot of people ask us, does the spare tire need to be on the back, or where do I put it? And we're above all that. So we're above the chassis of the vehicle and all of those things like long range tanks, factory spare tires, and of course, any other small additions you've made, we don't interfere with. Should there be something we need to relocate, it's no big deal, we can do that. So the tap's been here is really handy. Obviously you can run a hose to it or out of it. So another key difference of this side is again the width, but we've also got another fit out. So typically this side lends itself to more inclusive fit out. We can either do a very comprehensive fit out or of course leave it fairly open. It all depends on what the person needs, what the requirements of the fleet managers are and all that sort of thing. So let's talk about dynamic load rating on the roof. Obviously tradespeople and even now campers and people who are adventuring load the roof up with tents awnings, and of course trade use for ladders, pipework, conduit, all that sort of stuff as well. So for us, we warrant and guarantee our roof on a 300 kilo dynamic load should the vehicle be set up to take it. And we also have a 10-year structural guarantee for that sort of use as well. In terms of vehicle signage, a huge consideration in the fleet sector was having a really big open space to brand the vehicle. Now, being such a statement piece, and the first thing most clients see being a vehicle like this or your primary vehicle, having a good looking service body was paramount, but also having enough available real estate on the doors, even the rear wall or door was really, really important too. So I've left this as a blank canvas. Should high-vis tape, identification numbers, or even your own brand wants to go in here, there's plenty of available space on a very tacky surface to make sure that you've got good adhesion for any branding that goes on. So there you have it. Brand new for 2025 is our new chassis mount model. Available in 2 colors, being a matte black like we typically do, or our brand new Ripple White, which is great for commercial. In 3 variations, being the 3-door in the 1700, the 2-door with a solid rear wall, and of course a 1400 300mm on the back. If you're after something similar to this for your fleet, or if you're just the avid adventurer and you want to get out and about, give us a call. You're more than welcome to talk to the sales team or send us an email.